So in today's video, I'm just going to show you how I do a basic reshaft. So I've got a Ping 8 iron G20, which someone has broken just on the very bottom of the grip. Ping clubs don't have ferrules on the actual irons, which is great. So traditionally, trying to do a reshaft, I would do my utmost and my hardest to actually try and save the ferrule so it matches in with the rest of the clubs when I do a reshaft. Customer wants me to ideally keep the original grip. So the first thing I'm going to show you is actually how I can save this grip. There's actually 3 ways I can actually remove a grip from a golf club, which I'll show you in some videos in the future. But the way I'm going to get this off is I'm going to use a specialized tool. So this is the tool you require. It's like a rod basically. You can buy this from Golfsmiths or Brands Fusion, about £20, but this over the years will save you a lot of money. You can remove grips, especially new grips, and reuse the grips, which is sometimes ideal. Or if you've got, say, like a special grip like a Scotty Cameron and you're changing your grip to a Super Stroke, but you want to keep the original grip just in case you ever sell the putter on, then this tool is a must. So here's one I saved earlier. No, just kidding. It's one of those cooking programs where they pre-cook something and bring it out of the oven and do a time lapse. But no, I'll actually show you how I can get that out now. So what I've done, I don't know if you can see this, I've popped the tool down between the actual shaft and the grip. So, and then I'm going to pour some white spirit down, and what that does, it just sort of lubricates between the grip and the shaft, and I'll just slowly twist the actual tool between the two, and it should just separate the tape from the actual grip, and I should better pull the shaft out. So I'm just going to pour some more white spirit down, just helps to actually pop the tool down. I'm just going to slowly slide it down. You'll see it now going down between the actual shaft and the grip. Just be a bit careful with that. I've done quite a few of these, so I can be a little bit rougher. You've got to be careful if you're doing, say, an older grip, because you'll just split it. So that should now be enough for me to actually manipulate the actual shaft out the grip. So the next stage now is to actually just roll the grip. So what I'm going to do is, I'll probably from this angle you'll see it better, I'll just roll the grip down, and I should be able to, there you go, expose a bit of the shaft. Keep rolling, keep twisting. Might have to use the vise for this one, I think. You'll see now it's just moving slightly off. I can roll that down a little bit more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a vise. There you go, I've removed the grip from the shaft so I can reuse that for this repair. If I stick a new grip on his club, it will feel so different to the rest of the set, and ideally you want to change all the grips at the same time. This is also used to remove grips. You pump the white spirit down the actual hole, which is in the butt end of the grip. It fills up the shaft with white spirit, and then the white spirit will go between the actual shaft and the grip, and then you can just pull the grip off. So now I'm left with the broken shaft and the club head. So the next job is to remove this club head from the shaft. So now you require a paint strip or a heat gun. You can use on steel, you can use as much heat as you want. So you can use a blowtorch or with a gas canister on. I used to use that previously and in the past, but I found it quite dangerous, particularly because I'm doing repairs inside. There's some equipment around. You could easily start a fire. I've had a few incidents where I've lost control of the actual flame. It's got too hot. It's then started to spin, and I haven't been able to turn it off. So it's just, you've got to be very careful. Graphite, you could only use this. Too much heat, again, you will split fibres, you'll damage the shaft. You don't want to be doing that. But for this particular job, I'm going to use an air gun. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to heat around the area that the actual shaft goes into the head. You've got to be a little bit careful, particularly on this club, because on this particular club you'll see that the actual Ping has got quite a lot of rubber and a lot of plastic as an insert into the back of it. So if I use too much heat, I'm going to melt these components and ruin the club head. So I've got to be very careful not to get this too hot. So we're going to heat around this area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly rotate the club as we're heating it. That will just loosen the glue and make it easy to actually extract the shaft from the club head. So apply the heat for sort of 3-4 minutes. Some clubs are easier to get off than others. Shouldn't be too difficult, this one. And the cloth as well, just because it will get quite hot, the club head. Obviously it's being steel, it's going to conduct the heat, so there'll be quite a lot of heat around this sort of hosel area that I'm heating now. So once you've melted the glue, and I've probably given that sort of 4 or 5 minutes of heat, just concentrating on different areas and slowly rotating the actual head around just to try and break down all that glue. I'm now going to remove the actual club head from the shaft, fingers crossed. It's important to remember that that is going to be reasonably hot, so I've got a towel now. I'm just going to pop it around the club head and I'm just going to slowly twist. There you go, and I've removed the actual club head from the shaft. So that's going to be reasonably hot still, so now I'm just going to run a cold tap and just literally pop it on the area I've heated, just cooling it down really. You've got to be very careful, if you touch that you're going to burn your hand. So the next stage of this repair is we actually need to clean out inside the club head. So we need to get all this glue that's been left behind, any residue, and just clean it all out, because that will help to actually, when we go to glue the new shaft in and stick the new shaft in, it will actually help with that process. So there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can just get a drill piece, pop it in the vise and just turn it. So that would, or if we really want to make sure that we've removed all the glue, we can use a drill. Again, just pop it into the head, drill out. It will just remove any excess glue. It'll also break anything down that's actually stuck to the club head. So I've got this tool as well, which will clean out the club head. If you haven't got this, then obviously you can just use a drill piece, wrap a little bit of sandpaper around it, and that will also help just to remove anything out the actual club head. The beauty of actually reshafting a ping club is the actual tip is already prepped for me, so I don't have to do anything to that. And also the shafts are cut to length, which is brilliant. So there's no adjustments needed when fitting the shaft. So now we're just going to check that this actual shaft fits under the head. So we just pop it in there and it's a reasonably good fit. There's a little bit of movement, but with glue between the shaft and the club head, that will stay in place. Shafts unfortunately do not come in a standard size. They all vary and will be different widths. We also get tapered and parallel shafts, which I'll explain in a later video. This little measuring device by Goldsmith, it just shows you different types of shafts that are available. You can see the different fittings there. Unfortunately, like I said, there's no standard across the board, and it's important to sort of know what shaft you're actually putting into the club head and whether that club head and shaft are compatible together. In a future video, I'll show you how, if this actual shaft doesn't fit too well into the head and the fitting isn't as precise as this one, how I can actually get a shaft into a head. I've got a couple of tips that may help you out. Like I said earlier, this shaft has already been prepared, but what I'm going to actually do is I'm actually going to roughen that edge of that tip up a little bit more than what it already is. Again, that will just help with the glue to actually set into the head. That if that's a shiny surface, then the glue will have nothing to bind to. So I'm just going to rough that up a little bit more just to make sure that definitely that shaft will stay in the club head. With this ping shaft, we know that there's going to be no ferrule. The ferrule will actually hide a little bit of the shaft. So if we did rough the shaft up and went slightly further than what actually goes into the club head, the ferrule will hide that. But with this particular shaft, we know that this actual head and shaft, there's going to be nothing there separating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of tape around the very top of where the shaft has been ruffled up, so that when I actually use the actual file on it, I'm not going to file away too much and then leave any filed shaft actually showing in the club head. So this is what I need now, the file, which I'm going to rub on the end of the shaft. Don't know if you can see that, but now that's slightly rougher. You actually feel now the sort of the steel is roughened up, which is now ready to be put into the shaft. Just removing the tape now. You can see that I've not actually now gone past the line, which is great. So We won't see any of that. That will be hidden by the club head. So now we're ready to actually stick the club head on the shaft. And this for me is the winner. It's slow drying Aradite. It's 2 parts. We mix it together and then we can glue the head. You can use quicker, more rapid drying glue, but I find this gives the best finish. You can also maneuver it around for sort of several hours. It takes sort of 12 hours to set, and that club head is not coming off the shaft. A little bit of glue there. On top, I'm just going to literally mix that together like so. And now we're going to pop that glue onto the actual shaft. So I pop the glue onto the shaft. This remaining glue here, I'm going to now pop into the club head as well, just to add some extra sort of glue in there, just to make sure that this actually shaft is going to stay in the head. So I've now put the club in an upright position. I've literally lined up the shaft label with the leading edge, so you can see the Ping logo firmly down the actual shaft. The club's going to now remain there for sort of overnight while it sets, and then we will finish off the job with a regrip. So that's just a basic reshaft of a Ping club. Ping are good, they prepped the tip previously, it's already cut to length, so we don't have to worry about that, and we know the fitting is going to be decent because the shaft is correct for the club head. A lot of the time when people buy shafts, they get the wrong fitting. They might get a parallel or get a tapered shaft. It's important you know what shaft will go into that head, because it makes fitting so much easier. And a lot of the time if you get the wrong shaft for the wrong head, the setting and the way it actually fits won't be good enough or strong enough to actually keep the club head on the shaft, which is disastrous if you're playing golf. So I'm back now, different clothes. It's 24 hours later and the club is completely set. I've just sort of moved it around, tried to maneuver it, bent it a little bit just to make sure that club is in, and I'm confident that that shaft is firmly into that club head. So next stage, I'm just going to get a little bit of white spirit on a cloth and just wipe around the club head, just removing any excess glue, etc. I might have to put a small Stanley knife on it with a blade just to clean it up further, but it looks okay. It's quite a good finish. You probably won't be able to see that at home. And there you go as well. You can see that I haven't actually damaged any of the shaft when I was roughing it up for the glue to set. So now I'm just putting the grip that I pulled off the original club back on. You hopefully would have seen me do this in a previous video. So if you haven't, check out that video, which is on my channel. I've used the original grip that the customer wanted back on, so it would match him with the rest of his set. If not, I'd put a very similar grip on if I didn't have this grip. That might also trigger another sale. If he sees how much better the new grip is compared to this old worn one, he may then have the rest of his clubs done. There you go, one reshaft completed. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, ring the bell and comment below if you want to see any other repair videos on the channel.